And in this respect, the current crisis was exactly triggered by the fact that the banking sector was several times GDP, and monetary policy couldn't really affect effectively or reasonably quickly the economy, so it couldn't really affect the price and the quantity of lending in Iceland. So all these issues need to be addressed. Now, let's step back at the question of the currency, because this is a very, very important issue that needs to be dealt with as soon as possible. So there are three broad options. One, you could keep the krona, and this would pretty much mean remaining with a highly volatile currency and therefore highly volatile inflation development, because the cost of living in this country so much depends from importing goods from abroad. Now, in order to do so, you would have to introduce all these reforms that I just mentioned, and more, probably, so that the whole economy is very, very resilient. In the long run, however, you should bear in mind that maintaining the krona, it probably means that the banking sector and the corporate sector, so the companies, will probably have to shrink relative to GDP, because the volatile exchange rate doesn't really favor the expansion of the corporate sector. And you should also bear in mind that keeping the krona would mean that the current transition is going to be particularly difficult. Another option would be joining the European Union and eventually the Eurozone. Now, this has the virtue of adopting a highly liquid currency and enjoying superior ability of the lender of last resort, that is the ECB. So fundamentally, as I mentioned before, the lender of last resort in any country is the size of the government and therefore the taxpayer, right? So because of its size, Iceland, this capacity will always be relatively limited. However, in times of global turmoil like we are now, having access to the ECB liquidity is a significant advantage and can help shield your economy from significant distress. However, joining the European Monetary Union is certainly not easy, but it implies several costs. And to start with, it's a long-term project. So you're looking at least 4 to 5 years to implement the transition. You need 1 to 2 years to essentially call a referendum, apply for EU membership, negotiate the terms of EU entry, receive full endorsement from the European Commission, the Council, the Parliament, and finally ratify the agreement. So only this would take probably about 2 years. And then on top of that, you're looking at 2 to 3 years in order to meet all the Maastricht criteria and therefore join the euro. And you should also bear in mind that this project is risky. And an example of that, you can look at Central and Eastern Europe, where there are several countries there that have been trying to enter into the Eurozone for several years, and you can see that it takes a lot of effort in order to meet all the Maastricht criteria, despite whatever global environment you're in. So the third option would be to simply adopt another currency unilaterally. Let's just say the euro for sake of example, but you can pretty much adopt anything you want. So unilateral adoption has the advantage of being easy to implement. It's much quicker than full EU entry, but really doesn't get away from the need to make all the necessary economic reforms that mentioned above. So you have to note that adopting the euro is not only about switching the notes and coins, right? It's about making sure that the economy has enough currency all the time to do everything it needs to do, which is paying for imports, paying for wages, everything. So you need to have sufficient amount of the stock of foreign currency, and the flow of foreign currency would have to be sufficient so that at every point in time the economy can execute all the transactions it needs to transact. So these are, broadly speaking, the three options. Whatever path is chosen, I think the crucial ingredient here is to have a comprehensive plan and to implement it diligently and without hesitation. This is absolutely crucial. The worst would be to either continuing with uncertainty or to go through one path and then change your mind halfway, or rather not putting enough effort in keeping all the reforms and effort in place as soon as the economy recovers. All three options imply challenges and costs. All three imply opportunities and upsides, possibilities. So it's only a matter of deciding what you want and then go through with the plan. And that's all. Thank you.